Okay, so to clear up from the last episode, the part that Nick was confused about was when they launched the one-to-one decoy. He didn't see the little subtext pop up that said one-to-one decoy, and that's the part where he said, "I'm confused."
And then immediately, like afterwards, when they were like, "Oh, the decoy's been wiped out," I was like, "Oh," and then, like I got it, and so yeah.
So okay,
I just didn't say out loud that like I understood after that, and then I forgot what happened because ADD, fucking throws it out. So we had to go back and figure out what I said I was confused about when I did actually end up not being confused about it in the end, anyways. My brain sucks.
It's fine. It's fine. So that's the whole point. That was the whole point of contention. One of the whole points of contention last time. The other part was, his criticism of the Angel's design, which I explained is one of the parts Anno really felt let down a lot of people with the original series and what he wanted to improve upon. You see, this is why I like. Okay. It's hard to justify remakes sometimes. It's like I heard someone say, what if they tried to remake The Godfather? I don't think there's anything they could really improve on it. Other than like some visuals and like some of the fight scenes which look a little not good. I'm going to be honest. The fight scene between Sonny and Carlo is terrible.
Yeah, it's like some things, if you just think about it, in a way, it's not going to date hard enough that you need to remake it.
True.
Re-releases and updated remasters and stuff, more justifiable for sure on some things.
Which is what I
like,
think.
Yeah, like Godfather in HD. Yeah, fuck yeah. Like,
well, which is what I think Anno wanted to do. Which is what I think what Anno wanted to do with the original, with the Rebuild series, is that he wanted to do a retelling.
Because that's why I tell people I don't want a Fatal Frame remake. I just want them to make a Fatal Frame HD trilogy.
Yeah,
I would be super stoked if they would make an HD trilogy.
Like a full rebuild and remaster.
Yeah. All they need to do is universalize the control scheme across the 3 games and put it in a fucking HD format. And the graphics are awesome for PS2. Like that's a great fucking graphic game. Like graphics wise, that's a great fucking game. My English is failing me already. But like if you go back and look, the graphics are not the dated part of that game. The only thing dated is just the fact that it's still in a letterbox form, or not in a it's in a square.
Yeah.
On your screen, you got bars on the sides.
Yeah.
But if you just update it so that your button can be the same in all 3 games, that brings your camera up because it switches back and forth. It's like triangle in one of them, then circle in another one, And
then triangle.
If you could fix that and just put it in that format, that's awesome. You don't really need to remake the fucking thing.
I hear you.
Because it's still a great series.
Yeah, and I understand that. And there's certain games I wish they do that too. I wish they do that with the Mass Effect series. I wish that they would do a full rebuild and actually give us a better ending in 3, because holy shit. But yeah, that's
see Mass Effect. I would be like, maybe you could just update some mechanics and stuff on the first one.
Well,
and then actually like remake
to make it a lot more like the second one in terms of its gameplay style. If you want to keep the RPG elements, go right ahead. But at the same time, the second game to me is the best game because of just it mixes the perfect amount of action and RPG, and plus the characters are good. I like the characters in the second one more than I did the first one.
So I've only really played a lot of the first one.
Rex, to me, Rex is irreplaceable.
Yeah, I've only really played a lot of the first one, and the first one played fine to me.
Well, yeah, but that's you. But like me, I played the first one too.
The only thing that I would think needs to really change about Mass Effect is just, it needs to be expanded, and the decisions need to be made to have a lot more of a branch and an impact,
Well, I agree.
Basically, the further you could branch it out to where, different fucking things go different ways to have, the more endings you can put there, the more chance you have of someone being happy with at least one of your endings.
Yeah.
And I think I said something about this during one of the podcasts when we were talking about it.
You did. And that's true. But for me, if you go from playing the original Mass Effect to playing Mass Effect 2, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The controls and everything is so much tighter. The inventory is so much tighter. Like everything to me just feels so much better in the second one.
That's just one of those games like that. That would be a fine upgrade, but also I feel like you can justify remaking essentially at least the third one.
Yes, like a full remake of
or like a full rebuild, make it worth playing all the way through for everyone. Because that's one of those series that it's like, yeah, I would love to play through Mass Effect, but I don't have the time to waste on something that I know has that lackluster of a, a payoff.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, I can hear him now. I can hear the comment section now. It's like, stop talking about Mass Effect and get on with the fucking video. And I'm like, okay, fine.
I'm like, shut the fuck up.
And I'm just like, okay,
trying to talk about something.
Sheesh, yep, ingrates.
It's like, that's what Caleb's for. Fuck off.
That's what Caleb is for. Yeah. So here we go. We got we got episode 7 queued up. Let's watch. I remember.
Why did my brain read the Human Centipede at first?
I don't know. Cracks open a beer, just goes to town. Oops. Scurry! Scurry, you little bastards!
Damn.
Stop leering, you fucking lemurs!
This thing's about to explode like a nuclear bomb, isn't it?
Well, we'll see. Uh-oh. It just walked right through their dome. Like, what's up, homie? Well, what better time to die than trying to save the world, huh? I think he's got the silly walk. It's got its arms like wah 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 wah. Where you think you're going, huh? Oh no.
I think it was sabotage. That's what I've been thinking this entire time. It's sabotage. They were talking about how all contingencies have been thought of. The chance was like 0.000002%, and it fucking happens on their first showing of it. It's like, no.
It's a little too. It is a little too conspicuous.
Yeah.
She's pushing in the cooling rods manually herself.
It's like, I don't think this is that badly written that it's gonna end up being. Oh yeah, that just happened off that small ass fucking chance. So I think that something had to happen to trigger that. My guess is someone sabotaged it.
Come on, Misato, push. You were right.
So he set it up to happen?
Yep.
How? Like, how does he have access to, like, a different organization's shit to be able to set that shit up?
Well, if...
Can you rewind just a second? Just the beginning of that scene right there? Okay, right there, that's fine.
Yeah.
奇跡は用意されていたのよ、誰かにね。初号機の回収は無事終了しました。汚染の心配はありません。桂木1位の行動以外は全てシナリオ通りです。ご苦労。
So the thing is, Gendo is in the midst of a power struggle with everyone. He wants Nerve to remain the only, quote, only people who can fight the angels.
So in other words, he's a dumbass.
No.
Yeah.
There's a reason. There's a method to his madness. It's just you have to wait.
It's like, basically, I understand what he was saying. Like, you know, it's like, oh, there's a... You're putting a nuclear reactor in a thing. Isn't that fucking dangerous? Like, the angels could, like, easily cause that to, like, fucking explode or some shit, you know? And they're like, we've thought of, like, the precautions. It's, like, basically impossible, you know? This dude was making a bunch of good points to all her counterpoints as to why, like, they, you know, were basically on the way out. And there were going to be people who made shit that could work better than their shit. Like, there's no reason to, like, you know, completely be like, no, we'll never use the Avas again. But they can become the backup plan, you know? Whenever, like, the main shit fails or something, we'll send one of them in and try that last resort.
Well,
but
you'll understand. There's a lot of stuff that comes up. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of questions that are raised.
It's like, if there is an explanation for that... Beyond that, why don't they just fucking tell them?
Because that exposes the House of Cards. You see, all of the stuff that you're seeing is built upon a House of Cards. It's just a gigantic pack of lies that is just holding together because no one's talking. No one. That's how it is. That's how it is all over the world, man. That's why Washington is such a shithole. That's why so many people. That's why nobody trusts politicians. That's why bureaucracies are so like, it's all a denial of, and the very moment someone's caught with their hand in the cookie jar, everyone claims denial. That's just how the operations work. I mean, and I know it. Like, dude, I understand where you're coming from. I thought the exact same thing. It's like, these guys have a very good point about everything they're doing. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to help, but Nerve doesn't want to give up their power.
Yes, the guy seems like a dick in the fact that, like, he's like, yeah, we're going to make money instead of you, but his is also, like, literally his counterpoint seemed, you know, valid.
No, he went step for step with Ritsuko, and he was right. Yeah. He's right in a lot of ways. But at the same time,
technically that whole thing wouldn't have happened if it had not been set up, and they would have probably been like, okay, this is a viable option.
Yep. But due to the failed experimental run there, their reputation is now in the shitter.
Yep.
And no one's going to fund them. And that's the plan. That's always what it is. It's just like, hey, you remember ever hearing about what was it? Starlight? You ever hear about Starlight? Starlight was this plastic material that, it was a polymer that was actually resistant to heat, resistant to cold, resistant to a lot of stuff. And the applications for it were limitless in terms of what it was capable of doing. But the man didn't want to give up the secret to it. So he, before he died, he never got a chance to tell anybody or write it down, and he died with a secret.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, like, everybody who is in power, the majority of them want to stay in power no matter what happens. And they'll do anything to maintain that. It's like, I guarantee if a president who is in power and has that drive and says, hey,
I understand that, but if that's the situation here, then I still maintain that the guy's an idiot.
He is.
Like, he might not be, like, an idiot from the standpoint of, like, he's smart enough to keep himself in power, but he's, like, anyone who is greedy enough to put themselves in a position of power at the expense of possibly the entire human race is a fucking idiot.
Well, like I said, there is a method to his madness, and by the end you will understand.
Yeah. If he's going to end up being like the main antagonist and bad guy, then I understand that. But
well,
like,
you'll see.
If there's some sort of positive explanation to it, then I don't understand that. Yeah,
you'll see. You'll see. Oh shit!
Which, I mean, just from the way he's been portrayed so far, I wouldn't at all be surprised if he ends up being the villain overall.
And she's back. Back to her old beer drinking self.
どうしてやっぱイカリってお子様なやつほんまやなどうして他人の俺たちには見せない本当の姿だろそれって家族じゃないか
Got a point. They got a point. Okay, so yeah. So the whole political intrigue thing, you know, the whole, you know, the rush for power. That's been going on since the dawn of time. It's ever since social hierarchy came into effect. Whenever the feudal system was still in place. I mean, you look at all the feudal wars that happened between the different warlords and landlords and all that throughout history. It's just like, well, damn, and as humanity has changed and as humanity has grown, the game has changed. And instead of being a game where, you know, bigger army diplomacy was usually all you needed, instead there are CGP Grey actually had a really cool explanation. It was called Rules for Rulers. And Rule 0 is keep the army happy. And, well, I know it was and then there are, of course, you know, keep the army happy. Number 2, your key supporters, like literal key supporters, you know, your leader of the army, your financial leader, or you know, the people you put in charge of like your branches, or like your cabinet, effectively. Keep them happy. And then of course they say the third most important thing is keep the public happy, which, okay, that's one thing, but some rulers out there will say, I'll just keep the people happy. No, because when you don't keep the people who are closest to you happy, what's going to happen? They will find a way to replace you. That's just how it is. And the funny thing is...
So that's the thing, is like the army are the ones that can actually do something about you if you piss them off enough.
Yeah.
It's like they have the weapons to blow you up with.
Well, that's one
Whereas
thing
the
that
public,
they've said.
You know, there's this whole thing in America about like, yeah, we gotta keep our assault rifles to be able to overthrow the government. I mean, the government's going to fucking drone bomb us and nuke the shit out of us if we ever try some bullshit like that.
Well,
so we are not going to be able to fight our government. Like we unless they give us drones with missiles as well, then it would be fair.
Well,
like, but as of right now, even the assault rifles don't keep it fair.
Number one, you are the president. Now, I think the only person who can okay military operations on American soil is the president. That's the only person who can okay that. So, say the president doesn't want that. The president is okay with people wanting to overthrow the tyrannical government. Then, technically, the tyrannical government will have to argue and squabble amongst themselves over who's in power. And even then, there's no guarantee of drone strikes being launched. But at the same time, you have to think about this. You think people haven't thought of ways to, like, take down drones?
I mean, yeah, you can take down a drone, but, like, if you see it in time, you know? It's like if, basically, okay, imagine the scenario.
I know what you mean, like a silent killer.
Like a quote-unquote renegade faction, rises in America, and they decide they're fucking done with the government as it is right now. They want to take over, you know, for themselves.
Yeah.
Basically, they're going to immediately be labeled a terrorist group. and they're going to have to go underground and hide. And as soon as someone snitches and gives away their position, they're going to be blown the fuck up.
A bunker buster.
Yeah.
Well,
they're not going to exist anymore.
But then again, yeah, like I said, it comes down to military ops. I mean, if the president doesn't okay it, then there's nothing that can officially
If you
be done.
get to the point where the army is on your side, though, like, and they're like, yes, we also agree, fuck the government. Then then you're going to be good to go. But that's the thing, is like the army are the ones they got to keep happy, because if the army gets to the point where they're like, well, we're just going to drive our drones, turn our drones around and head them towards the the DC, and then the government has a problem on their hands. But,
yeah.
Like, just, I don't know. It's like, that's not like my anti-gun argument, because I'm actually kind of pro like guns and being able to own the gun you want and everything. It's just like, is whenever they try to use that as an argument, like, for pro guns, like, why we should be able to keep our assault rifles and stuff. I'm like, that's the thing, is honestly I can't really justify it, just because of the fact that our assault rifles just don't even do shit for us at this point.
No, number one, though, I mean, I would prefer, like,
mainly the reason I want an assault rifle in my house is if, like, Russia ever comes over and they start trying to drag people out, like in fucking Red Dawn or something like that. Then it would be nice to have an M16 in your closet. Don't you agree?
Truth is, histories of tyrannical governments turning on their own people are far more often than a foreign invader, actually. I mean, actually, if you look at the highest death counts throughout history, it's usually come from, like, especially, like, Mao in China.
From inside.
And you look at Russia, and you look at Cambodia, and you look at all that. You look at all that's happened in
nowadays, I don't think a government could even pull a Red Dawn on another country to an extent, because mostly countries have enough allies to step in and be like, hey, fuck off.
Depends on which country you're thinking about, because if you're talking about a country that's made enemies of everybody, then I'd say most people would be okay with it.
Yeah, it's like if we get to the point where, like, everybody's just like, yeah, fuck them, and then Russia comes over and is like, all right, we're taking over, then Russia, UK might be like, yeah, we're just going to look the other way.
Russia, to me personally, Russia is not our biggest threat.
Any of our friends might be like, yeah, we're just going to look the other way at this point, because
they've
been kind of dickish lately.
Yeah, you know who our biggest threat might be? China. I'd say
China's got us on population numbers, at least. Military numbers, I believe.
Well, yeah, number one thing about China is that they have us in population, but we have them in terms of military spending.
Didn't they do a remake of Red Dawn where it was like China, or just like some?
Yeah, it was. North
It was like an Asian country.
It was North Korea.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, here's actually what happened with that. Originally, it was China.
And China was like, no, don't.
No, and China was just like China actually threatened to never play another American film in cinemas ever again. If that film came out and it was China who was the one doing it.
Yeah.
And most film companies out there didn't want to lose the Chinese markets.
Right.
So they pretty much said, if you release this film, we will tell all the theaters to block all of your films from here on out. So instead of being allowed to have your freedom of expression, instead they said, okay, we'll just change it to North Korea. And it lost a lot of its like big, like huge terror scenario, which China to me is probably the biggest threat to us in terms of being a superpower.
They've even proved at that point that they're indirectly a threat to free speech in our own country.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
It's because, like, people don't understand, like, people start talking about, some people should be censored, some things should be not said, and it's like, that's a good example for you right there of how, like, that's a dangerous, slippery ass fucking slope if you start censoring
actually,
shit.
I remember that.
It's like if you start telling, the Nazi in your house next door that he's not allowed to post on the internet anymore, it's gonna fucking come a landslide, and it's gonna fuck you over too. For me, the biggest example to me
was when the Young Turks, like, I saw this happen live. I saw that, well, not live, but I saw this happen. They literally ate each other alive. Because one of the guys who owns TYT, this Asian dude named Steve, he's sitting there and he's talking about, but companies should have the rights to censor creators out there that they don't agree with. And Jimmy Dory is just like, Wait. So what you're saying is you think a shadowy company with no with no oversight or anything like that has the right to censor anybody they want? And the guy said yes, and he said, "Oh, I can't wait until the Young Turks are taken off the air because they disagree with a war. I can't wait for that." And then Steve, the guy who said it originally, is just like, no, we won't be taken off the air as long as we say what's right. And he's like, who's to say? And then Jimmy was just like, who's to say what we're saying is right? Look, I hate going back to the Alex Jones thing, but at the same time, he should have the right to say those things. And if the company has a problem with it, they need to go to court over it. They shouldn't have the right to just like nix it off the internet, no problem, because that's not right. And they like were literally chomping at each other, and I'm just like, Jesus. Well, so this is what implosion looks like. Yeah,
the whole argument there is just basically like...
Actually, no, because he said...
You have the right to say that shit, but they don't have to give you a platform to say it on.
Well, no, because here's what he said. He said, Steve, so you're pretty much arguing and saying that there should be multiple standards. And Steve goes, yes. So you literally just argued for a double standard. And Steve's just like, no, and like he like immediately tried to retract what he said. But no.
Here's where I think that like you have to draw a line. There's a point where like censorship has to be okay because, all right, imagine we have a platform technically. Like our platform is our Discord, and that's technically Discord's platform also, but we also control that platform, and we can actually censor people that come into that platform and say shit.
But here's the thing: if it's not anything, A, pornographic, B, overly violent, or C, so like in terms of like super radical like stuff, like even though I don't agree with Union I still think should have the right to post stuff about communism in there because, hey, it's his right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, people could start arguing. It's like, well, what if someone wants the right to post something pornographic, like on?
Well, if that's
what
the
right
case,
do you have to censor him?
Well, if that's the case, then
it's a circular argument to an extent.
Well, it is a circular argument, but I would make the argument to say, hey, if anything, we may put a platform on there that people can post stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't like. Here's the problem.
I mean, if everybody in our Discord's like, we want a porn channel, we might. I don't know. It's like you're technically allowed to do that on Discord.
You are, but at the same time,
you have to have mods in there though that's going to look at all the porn that be like to make sure it's not child porn.
Exactly. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, it's like there's a thing. There's like a level of censorship is actually required in the world.
It is, but
you got to censor shit like child porn.
I know, but
sure.
but that's one argument for that. But what I'm arguing is opinions.
Yeah, like opinions, like on things, definitely not. Like if it's just an opinion, if it's like my opinion is this, it's like. But I mean, like in terms of like physical things and stuff, it's like where do you draw the line at? It's like it's a weird gray area.
You see, there is a weird gray area there because you're not just talking opinions anymore. You're not just talking about some ethereal thing that has no physical manifestation. But instead, when you're talking about something that has a physical form, that's where, because whenever it has a physical form, it involves personal space. It involves a personal opinion. It involves a person's ability to comprehend and understand things. And I think the world is a big and beautiful place, and that everyone should have the ability to experience it uncensored. Yeah. But at the same time,
and then there's also like the argument too. It's like that certain opinions can actually be harmful to certain people, because that was one of the big problems with Alex Jones and why it's hard to completely justify allowing certain things to be said. It's like at some point somebody just needs to step up and be like, dude, you gotta stop. Like, you have to draw a line. Like, it's we're not going to take your whole platform away, but you have to stop saying shit that's fucking people's families over and stuff like that. I didn't
agree with, like, a lot of the stuff that Alex Jones said. I'd say 90 to 95% of the things he said I did not like. But at the same time, if he wants to believe that and say that he believes that, he has the right to. However, like, okay, this is the problem with the internet. The problem with the internet is the internet doesn't really have a filter. The internet has the exposure to the internet. Like me, when I was a kid, when I first experienced the internet, I was 13. I was around 13 years old, and the first thing I remember looking up was how to download Napster because I wanted music. But you see, dude, the problem is
I can't even remember what the first thing I did on the internet.
Well, harmful things. This is why parents should at least educate their kids to some degree. Parenting is one thing. Like parenting in the internet age is something that doesn't dawn on most. Like it's something that you don't see. Instead, they put a computer in front of their kid, and they expose their kid to all these terrible things because they don't tell their kids, "Oh, you can't go here. Don't do this. It's bad. It's a bad place." And there's a lot of things out there that can be solved with at least a decent amount of parental guidance. Because there's a reason why.
How does that relate to Alex Jones and him basically like? He was essentially inciting people to like fuck over the families of like Sandy Hook people, you know, because Sandy Hook, his whole thing was like, oh, that didn't happen.
Was
yeah, it was a hoax.
Yeah,
and shit. And like,
so
people that were watching him were then going and like death threatening like families of people that this happened to, and it's like.
No, and
that's
I agree.
Real
that was a
fucked
terrible
up.
Thing. That was a real terrible
thing. It's like
thing.
At some point you have to do something about that and be like, dude, that's not okay.
And
like,
he got reprimanded, and he was told, Alex, calm the fuck down.
Yeah. And
eventually he did. He retracted a lot of the stuff that he said. But at the same time, dude, what I'm saying is...
It's like one of the things is like it's just a matter of covering your butt,
If your parents don't want you to watch Alex Jones, your parents just go, don't watch Alex Jones. Don't watch his channel here. He's a crazy person.
Yeah, but it's like, that still doesn't really... It's not a bunch of kids that are probably death threatening these people, It's,
you'd be surprised.
I mean, my mind goes immediately to, like, some fucking, like, just backwoods hillbilly, like, inbred rednecks like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're like, oh, Alex Jones, yeah, and Sandy Hook's a hoax. Fuck all those people.
Well, here's the thing. Alex Jones, his channel had, I believe, around 2 million subscribers. That's not even 1% of the United States.
I wonder if they're going to censor this video because we've said that name so many times.
I don't know. I really don't know.
This is a weird discussion based off of Evangelion.
Yeah, we've gone on too long.
We got way into like the political spectrum of shit, and a bunch of people are probably going to be like, man, these guys, I don't agree with anything these guys say. I
don't really care. Yeah, you can agree with us, you can disagree with us. Either way, if you have
it's
an
just
opinion,
a conversation.
Yeah, if you have an opinion that you want to share with us about what you think about us, leave it in the comment section below. I will continue to ignore it as I always do. And yeah, we will see you all in the next video. Peace out.
Later, guys.